How did Thresh die? In the books, Cato kills him. When Thresh leaves the feast, he takes District 1's backpack after killing Clove. This makes him an immediate target for Cato. Katniss makes it back to her and Peeta's cave and then passes out. When she wakes up, there's a huge storm going on. Peeta asks, "I wonder what brought this on, who's the target?" And Katniss confirms that it's either Cato or Thresh. This storm continues for around 3 days, and when the cannon signaling Thresh's death does go off, Katniss and Peeta actually don't hear it because of the storm, so they find out that night when his picture is placed in the sky. A lot of people have asked the question as to how Cato would have killed Thresh. Cato at this point in the books has a lack of food due to Katniss blowing up the supplies, and Thresh seems to be eating fine. According to Katniss, it even looks like he's gained weight. So I understand why people are confused, but I think people are doubting Cato's skill immensely. Katniss's first description of Cato is when she's watching the recap of the Reapings, and she describes him as monstrous. In fact, almost every single one of Katniss's descriptions of Cato label him as a threat. She's talking to Peeta at training, but then gets preoccupied watching Cato pierce a dummy's heart from 15 yards away with the spear. 15 yards is 45 feet. That is extremely impressive and speaks of Cato's training. So although at this point in the books, it's likely that Thresh is stronger than Cato due to the fact he's simply eating, Cato is still way more experienced. Now, I personally think that in Thresh's backpack from the feast he would have received a weapon, because it's noted in the books that he doesn't have one. In the books, he kills Clove with a rock, and that's the only tribute we ever actually see him kill. So although I think he had a weapon while fighting Cato, we actually never get an answer to that. I think that this is one of the tragedies of Thresh's story. Although strong and looking like he had a real chance to win, he lacks skill when placed in a real fight. Because Cato had trained for this, and I actually think it's more realistic to the story that Cato killed Thresh. Cato went into that fight with a weapon that he felt comfortable with. He had years of experience handling a weapon so that he could kill somebody. Thresh had none. And I think that that was the ultimate deciding factor in this fight between the two. Cato has a wide knowledge of weapons and how to kill with them, and at this point in the books, we only know of Thresh killing one person, Clove. And that was done in anger and rage. Not to mention that he snuck up on Clove and overpowered her, which he would not be able to do as easily with Cato. So how did Cato win? Because he was able to use a weapon effectively. Cato had been trained for this. Thresh hadn't. Thresh's story is heartbreaking because his family definitely thought he had a real chance of coming home. He had made it to the final 5 at that point. Now, although Katniss never sees Cato kill Thresh, I do think it's confirmed. My reason behind thinking this is that at the end of every Hunger Games, the victor needs to watch a recap of the entire games with Caesar Flickerman. Katniss and Peeta do this. And Katniss actually doesn't mention Thresh's death in this recap, so once more, unconfirmed there. But in Mockingjay, she does mention Cato killing Thresh. Katniss doesn't describe everything when she's talking about the recap of the games, so I think that part may have simply just been omitted. But I think with the information that we know, we can safely assume that Cato was the one who killed Thresh.